country needs your help. Many young people today feel as if they don't matter and that their future prospects are limited. As a nation, we need to invest in our young people, let them know that they are full of potential. Now let's help them succeed, and mentoring can do that. Mentors can help young people build confidence and give them hope for the future. So you can help your country by volunteering as a mentor to a young person in your community. And you'll be surprised how good it will make you feel. Mentoring works. Become a mentor.
The war had been going on for 2 years, and I got the calling. I got the calling to join the service and support the boys over there. I never thought that I would have PTSD. I thought that I had enough coping skills.
I don't think anybody who goes into combat could ever honestly say that they're not different when they come home.
My life's changed. What you take as a simple thing is not so simple for me anymore.
It's like a pressure cooker. And, you know, you want somebody desperately to trip that valve. You know, you want to, like, you know, lose all of that anger and angst.
I would say to those people that are out there, get educated. Don't brush us aside and don't count us out.
Hear more of their stories at usoinvisiblewounds.org. The wounds are invisible. The stories are real.
Hello, I'm Lauren Adams. I'm with the American Postal Workers Union, AFL-CIO. I'm the State Vice President, District 6, and we're watching Fayetteville Access TV.
Hi, with us today is Victoria Rogney of the Northwest Arkansas New Progressives. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. I understand that you and your group are supporters of Bernie Sanders. Now, considering that we have this wonderful strong man, Donald Trump, running for president, I just wonder how you have the effrontery to support another candidate.
It's crazy. I ask myself the same thing every day. Personally, I feel the need to support Bernie Sanders instead of Donald Trump because Bernie Sanders has never said anything to personally offend me as a human being or anything that I really stand for. Donald Trump, he's got a big following. He's kind of also a big bully.
Yeah, Nazi rallies had big followings too.
They sure did.
We'll get mail over that one. So, aside from the differences between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, what drew you personally to supporting Donald Trump? Bernie Sanders. We're going to keep that one in. We're not even going to cut that out. What drew you personally to supporting Bernie Sanders?
Well, I think that for myself and a lot of millennials, it's this whole bootstrap concept we've got right now, like that we're, you know, as younger people who don't maybe have everything that we thought we would have when we were younger, it's just because we're whiny or we're not trying really hard, and that just never really sang to me. I've always been a pretty hard worker.
Yeah.
And I just like that Bernie Sanders is like, he's understanding and he's seeing, and he's always been seeing, and he's been consistently talking about these issues and about what happened to the middle class and why it's disappearing and how we need to bring it back and what we can do to do that.
Now, people jump on him as they say Bernie Sanders is a socialist, because I think that's how he was first elected as a socialist, way long time ago from Burlington, where I used to live. Would you say he's more mainstream in his views now, or do you think America's catching up with him?
I think that the word socialist is like, it's such a red labeled word, and I just don't understand why. I think that if we threw out Republican, Democrat,
it's like
socialist,
commie rat.
It's like commie rat. I think if we threw out all the words and you can give me these people's views on paper, and I'm not going to call any of them socialist or crazy. I'm going to say this is so in line with what's needed, in my opinion, and in so many opinions. And I think that there's a lot of people who are seeing what hasn't been working for so long, and like even just the battles that are going on and the compromising that's having to happen in politics. And and saying like, why not just take the step that is actually like towards the direction that we need, and see if we can get something out of this. And Bernie's got a really large following, and it's all these small grassroots groups across the nation, and get out in the streets and tell me what you want, kind of ideology. So.
And I've seen a lot of Bernie Sanders signs, whereas I really don't. I see a lot in Fayetteville, whereas I really don't see any signs for Hillary or, and we'll just get this out of my system here, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But I don't really see signs for them. But I see a lot of Bernie Sanders signs in Fayetteville.
I do too, and I think that there's a lot of progressive people in Fayetteville, even though there's a lot of people who are also very not progressive, But this is pretty early, I think, to see so many Bernie signs, and I agree that there are a lot. There's also a lot of just general excitement about this campaign, and I know personally I've just heard messages and seen writings from people about trying to get signs, and there's like, I don't care what people have to say about my signs, I want to have them, I'm going to get them.
Yeah.
Really enthusiastic.
I mean, he really is energizing a lot of people across the country, which is ironic because if you just watch the news, you would think this one particular candidate was just having rallies, who I will not say his name anymore or I'll screw up the conversation. But you hardly get any coverage of the Bernie Sanders rallies. And a lot of people are showing up to those, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Yeah, and we had an event back in July where we had about 400 people come out, and a local news channel came out too and did some interviews, and we were really glad to be able to show another packed house for Bernie.
That's pretty impressive, 400 people.
Yeah, in a small, a pretty big bar on Dixon, a really, really good sized bar. So.
400 people in a bar is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and people from all walks of life. I guess I'm going to come to a bar for a political event.
Right.
Great. Can I bring my kids? Yes, do it. So that's really exciting. Yeah, I think that it doesn't really matter so much to me personally if he's getting put on a lot of television, because I don't watch television.
Right.
But it's a huge thing that
but a lot of Americans do, though.
Especially a lot of the voting Americans. The people who are actually going to go to the polls aren't the ones that are liking my posts on Facebook. Some of them are, but not everybody. A lot of people who are just getting, most of their media, I think, from social media. Maybe not so active.
And we know how accurate all that is on social media.
Oh, yeah. Everything.
Yeah, but we're living in an age where increasingly people just are turning away from newspapers and magazines, even books, and believing what they see on the internet.
And screaming in their all capital locks, "This is a fact about things."
Yeah, I mean,
I just made it that. So
it's sort of amazing that, and of course the internet makes tough guys out of cowards too. We see that a lot.
Yeah.
And see all the bullying on the internet. But it's nice to know that it's being transferred. I mean, because you see all the people at the big rallies for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. When we see, even so, talking about the internet, we'll maybe have at our last event, I think we had 200 people initially signed up to come to the event, and then a couple days before it was 500.
Yeah.
And 4/5 of those people, or at least 4/5 of some people, 400 people came to that event. So I think that we're being able to use it as a really great tool, just like the Obama administration, his campaign, they used it as a really good tool also.
Yeah.
And I think that it's making huge leaps with the Sanders.
And it's people from all age groups too, isn't it, who are supporting it?
Oh yeah. And we'll get and it's mostly right now. It was started. Our kind of organization was mostly started by younger people, but we'll just get older people coming to us. The new progressives.
Let's throw that in there a few times. The new progressives.
They'll come up to us and just say, like, "This is so exciting! Like, you guys, the young people being involved is so it's like even just that we're participating is giving them life, and giving them excitement to continue and think that it's a worthwhile cause."
So I looked on Bernie Sanders' website, and his official website, and there's a lot of things that he speaks about. We're talking about income and wealth inequality in this country. I think that's one of the things that appeals to people.
Yeah, I mean,
the inequality doesn't appeal to people.
Inequality doesn't appeal to most people, no, but income inequality doesn't appeal to us either.
It's never appealed to me.
Fixing those problems appeals to people.
Yeah.
Seeing someone like Donald Trump in a debate or just his speeches and the way that he might be talking about immigration or these different issues, I just think like, yeah, I want your money. Like, I don't want you to have all that money and power anymore. And I think getting the money out of politics is so important, because I've always felt like, even from the time that I was 12 and like trying to watch the news with my dad or watching politicians with my family, and like, but we don't matter. My dad's even said it, like, our votes don't really matter. It's all about the money. It's all about the businesses, and it's just gotten worse and worse, over time. And
It has-
businesses are votes. They're
Yeah.
actual humans with votes
Yeah.
now, so like they can just raise their hand.
It's almost to the point where we should just not vote on people. We should just vote on which corporation is
Which
going to run the country.
corporations do you
Yeah.
dislike the least?
Yes. Yeah, not like the most, dislike the least. Yeah. But
None of them really stand up for individuals, so you
he's,
can't really
he's
like
also
them.
spoken about creating decent jobs for people.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Well, I know that's huge as somebody I've been really down about our education system. I
Yeah.
think it's great to go to college and to get an education, but I also see all over everywhere that I go, people with education, even higher, like much higher education, even master's degrees, PhDs, there's no work for them anymore. Like
No.
you have to settle, and even wanting to be a professor, a lot of the
Yeah.
time you can't even go to school your whole life and then hope to be a professor. You might just be an adjunct professor.
Yeah.
You can't go to school your whole life and hope to be a high school teacher. You might just be able to be a sub. There's no guarantees, and people are holding on to those jobs longer, knowing what we're getting into.
And there used to be a time when you just, even just 30, 40 years ago, if you had a high school diploma and you were a pretty smart person, you could progress in society.
Yeah.
But that's hardly the case anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean there are people in my family who didn't graduate college, and they make so much more money than I think I ever would be able to in this economy.
Yeah.
But another thing there used to be that there isn't anymore is factory jobs. There used
That's
to be
true.
a lot of factory jobs where you could, your starting pay was going to be above minimum wage.
Yeah.
Like significantly, and you could just keep working there for a long time, and even there you could progress in some ways. But those are disappearing like crazy too.
I know, and we've lost a lot of factory jobs here in Fayetteville.
And yeah, in Northwest Arkansas
and people
Fort Smith.
and the people of modest means are moving out of town. They're moving to communities where they have the jobs. And the parts of town where honestly a lot of them live aren't very nice, but that's a subject for another show. But we don't have a lot of industry in America anymore. I used to work in a shoe factory in Pennsylvania.
Really?
And most of our shoes and boots are made overseas now.
Yeah, you're spending 3 times as much for suits made in America, and that's a great purchase to make. But
Yeah.
there's no other way really. You got to get the shoes that cost $10 to make and $150 to buy.
Right.
the
Yes.
Nikes.
And and you know how much the people making them
Yeah.
are taking home.
Yeah, and that's what's happening to most of our industries. We're just shipping them out because labor's cheaper, and we could work to make labor cheaper here. That might be some people's view on that, but I've got a
know.
more sustainable idea of America in my head.
Yeah. Now he's also spoken, and he has spoken out on racial justice, even though there was a flap some time ago with the Black Lives Matter group who
Yeah.
felt he wasn't. But
Yeah, and I think it's important that the Black Lives Matter group gets their voices heard.
Yeah.
And I think that they're, also feeling like we need to get our voice heard, and there's a lot of people saying, well, maybe they're approaching Bernie because he's possibly the only one who will respond with any kind of plan of action. But I think that what needs to be understood also is that Bernie Sanders' plans are, it's kind of all-encompassing. Like
yeah.
income inequality, all of these issues where people aren't being treated like people. Like it's all systemic, and it needs to be approached in that way that we can't just stop one instance of racism and then say that because we're working towards this one thing,
I know.
just the police force being aggressive. It's not just the police force. It's everything. Like
Yeah.
I mean, African American preschoolers are being kicked out of preschool at a 48% rate, and they're only 13% of the preschool population. Like, it's in every aspect
That's
of life.
abominable. Is that true, really?
It's true.
That's
It's
abominable.
Or maybe I just put it on Facebook and said this is a fact. No, this is a true fact. And I work in preschool, so I like to know these facts.
you know these things, yeah.
And it's really unfortunate, and we have to just approach it for the whole system. But he also has a long history in the civil rights movement, and I just feel like he's this guy, he's active. He wants to do things. He wants to actually be a part of making change happen and not just sitting around. And it's always been that way for him. He's very consistent and very involved. I mean, he'll go out and march with the unions on Labor Day, and he's marching in the civil rights campaign.
That's a big plus in my book. If you march with the unions, that's a big plus in my book.
Yeah, that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
That's huge. I like
Unions
that a
get
lot.
blamed for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, women's rights are very important to him as well.
Oh, they are. Yeah. I mean, from wage inequality to Planned Parenthood, all the issues he supports, as any human being should, I think, support men and women having equal pay.
And if you just compare that, say, with the GOP debates.
Yeah.
where women's rights are not a big issue with
Not
them.
an issue. Yeah, I didn't watch much of the last one because the first one I watched just felt like so much nothing. Like,
Yeah.
what are you even talking about? Who are you addressing here? Like, what people are watching this thinking like, oh, this is the stuff, I'm gonna pick one of you. Like,
I know.
I just don't know what they're talking about. I mean,
No.
I know what they're saying, but it's just not right. It's not
No.
th
I guess
There needs to be
you
more
know
talk.
this latest debate, Jeb Bush wants to put Margaret Thatcher's picture on the $10 bill.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't miss much by not
Okay.
watching it. But he has spoken out on immigration too, which almost seems to be. And on one Republican from Florida, and it was right. His name was right onto my tongue.
The candidate?
The kid, the young guy running for president.
Is it Rubio?
Rubio, Marco Rubio. Thank you. Well, I sound like the dumbest talk show host on TV right now. But Marco Rubio has been criticized by many hardcore Republicans because he has been working on a fair immigration plan. It's like, so I'm glad that Bernie Sanders is, because nobody on the GOP side hardly is interested. Their plan seems to be round them up and bust them out of the country.
Bust him out, make a taller fence. Yeah, taller wall, build a taller wall. I don't know. It always takes me back to being in my, 6th grade civics or 7th grade civics class and having to memorize the whole give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, and just thinking like, this has never been America.
They're going to spray paint over that. They're going to go spray paint over that.
We got to haul it out, give it to somebody else.
I know. Of course, he's for the Iran deal.
Well, he's against the war. You know, the inevitable war.
It seems to me that there are people who are just say no deal is better than this deal, but no deal is what we got right now. And,
No deal.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
No.
No, I support him on that, and that's a tough one because there's not really a great solution to every problem, but the great solution right now is to not have another Bush-era war.
Yeah, sometimes you have to take what you can get.
We've got to do that.
Yeah.
No, I think he's right on the money with that.
And he's spoken out on living wage. And a lot of people don't understand what living wage is.
Like a living wage? Well, no. Why would we understand what it's been? We haven't seen it. Our wages affected by inflation. We don't have living wages.
I know. It's like if you work for minimum wage now, you can't buy what you could have bought on minimum wage 30 years ago.
Right. No, you can't. Many people have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to live to the standard that they had been living at before. But some people have to work 2 full-time jobs or 3 jobs just to live to a standard at all, to take care of themselves. Even people without families, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't be having so many children. And but when a lot of right-wing people like to say that, I like to bring up Planned Parenthood, so it's a really tough conversation. But even people who aren't in bad situations that they might be forced into are having a hard time making rent payments because they work really hard, 40+ hours a week. Some people make salary and don't even have these overtime benefits, but those things aren't maybe not be high enough to make their rent, to make all their payments. And then we also have to have cars in America. We don't have towns that are really built for pedestrians.
No.
And, that's something that I've struggled with this past year is like I actually have to have a car to get to work for the first time in a long time. And then you have an insurance payment, and healthcare is something that he's also really big on. But our current healthcare is just it's pretty expensive. Things have gotten better.
And I have known people who've used the emergency room as their primary doctor. I've known people who've gone to, and I won't mention any names of these doctors, but there are doctors who are not respected by a lot of other people. But they'll get patients because they'll allow them to pay on time, to make payments on their bills. So they're not getting adequate health care.
Right. Yeah, that is unfortunate, the healthcare situation. I've been pretty lucky to be still on my dad's healthcare. Like he's allowed me to stay on his coverage while I'm still under 26, and I just fear the day. Actually, I'm getting married soon, and that's going to be the day when I have to start having my own insurance. And it's a scary thing. Like this is another reason, just one of many reasons that I feel the need to be not just supporting, but promoting Bernie Sanders everywhere that I go. I need people to understand that these issues that that our generation is going to be facing, and that your generation and previous, like older generations,
Us
are going
old,
to be facing.
us old
you
farts.
old
Yes,
people.
yes. Me.
you need
You say she's really talking about my direction,
benefits.
but
Yeah, I am.
there's that's true. Us older people, are also facing these issues.
Yeah.
I mean, they stuck a sewer snake up my leg just a couple weeks ago. That cost $700.
Yeah.
It seems to me when they don't find anything, they should give you half price.
Right, I think so.
But I have to take that up with the hospital. He's also written on climate change.
Yeah,
And it's like we talk about these issues which seem so basic.
they do.
It's like these are issues which every candidate should have some concern about, But on the Republican side, you have people who take snowballs into Congress to prove there's no climate change,
It's winter, so global warming's not happening.
Right. And they're not paying attention to the massive forest fires that are ravaging our country, or the water crisis that some states are going to have.
Right. Well, because maybe we shouldn't have put large populations of people out in the desert. But that aside, you would think that there would be at least some conversation, in these debates, in these Republican debates about it. But honestly, if we elected a Republican president, we would set ourselves back decades in our progress.
I can't think of any of the
change.
Republicans that are talking about the issues that seem important to just ordinary people.
Well, it's just so easy to distract the ordinary people. It's so easy to give us something else to talk about.
Facebook
Facebook.
gives us stuff.
We get ourselves pretty distracted.
And we get pretty outraged by fake stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm so mad about Kim Davis that I don't even care about climate change right now. Different things going on.
I'm so mad about Josh Duggar not showing up to rehab that I just can hardly find clean clothes in the morning. But there's always something to outrage us on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's now is an important issue, and I think this separates him from actually perhaps some of his Democratic opponent he has. That he's interested in Wall Street reform.
Yeah, that is very different. That's the biggest thing that I can think of about him. That's like calling to people is that, you always talk about, I just hear people say, I'd want a president that I could just sit down and have coffee with or eat a donut.
Or go bowling with.
Or go bowling. I want some American, but they don't really want that because maybe they do, but they don't know that yet. People don't know what that is yet. But Bernie Sanders is that. He doesn't have these labels. There's this pretty famous Facebook post that gets circulated every couple of months that says maybe politicians should wear NASCAR jerseys, NASCAR.
Yeah, right.
jackets
So you can see who owns them.
Who owns them.
Yeah.
And his would be just his jacket. It's just exactly what he's wearing. And definitely that's the game that's been happening for so long is that you have to do that. You have to have these big, Monsanto giving you money, and you have to do that to be a candidate. But that also puts you in a position of having to compromise, and what good are you going to actually be able to do when you're having to compromise with everybody else's pockets?
Well, when you think about this, and I was reading in the paper where several teachers were involved in a cheating scam, right, with their students. The teachers went to prison. But if you own a coal mine and people die, you don't go to prison.
Yeah. It's like businesses are treated like people, but then they're treated like upper class citizens.
Right.
Like they're better than the others, and it's really becoming a strange system that we don't want. It's not democracy. It's not what we think it is.
Yeah.
And so that is huge with Bernie, is that this is the first guy like him to come up and say this is what I want to do. I want the money. I want Wall Street out of politics. I mean, people get frustrated and say churches should have to pay taxes because of the kind of impacts that they have, or they're not doing this or they are doing that. How about listen to this? Churches get out of it, but really businesses get out of it.
Oh my God!
At least some churches might have some moral concept of humanity, but
and they rarely get a chance to go to Congress and just lie through their teeth.
Exactly.
Which I think a lot of Wall Streeters have done.
Deals.
Right. So there actually are a lot of differences between Bernie Sanders, not only with the GOP, but with other Democrats. A lot of Democrats have gone, the famous Blue Dog Democrats during Reagan's era. A lot of them are still around who are just really practically Republicans.
Right. And it seems like the Republican Party has changed so much in the last, 5 decades. And what I observed in the last, through Obama's administration, is that so much compromise has to happen on his end, but not a whole lot of compromise happens from the other end.
No.
It seems like with the Republicans, it's more you know, this is the way things have to be, and Obama has to keep negotiating and keep like going back on things and doing things differently. And Bernie Sanders he's very true to himself, and he's not going to do anything or say anything that isn't, you know, right with him. But he also has this huge following, like I've said, and I think that's the biggest thing here is that really no matter what happens, there's enough people right now that are caring and thinking about what's happened to America, what do we need to do to get things back on track, why is racism still a thing, like why are we so far behind dealing with climate change, why is everybody else doing better than us,
why are there no damn jobs,
why are there no jobs,
that's right,
why is our education system like rated so low? And so there's enough people that are starting to ask at least a few of these questions and coming out to different events, and I just don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
So can you tell us a little bit about actually the Northwest Arkansas New Progressives?
So the Northwest Arkansas New Progressives, we're kind of in the forming stage right now. We do have a name, and we host events, and we started out kind of just as a couple different events on Facebook that wanted to happen to be the first Bernie Sanders rally. And so we merged, and it's kind of growing, and every couple weeks, you know, we have an event or we talk to somebody there's some people who tabled at the farmer's market last week, and we were like, oh, you know, doers, we want doers involved. And so what we're just trying to do is get word out. We're doing a lot of like printing brochures and trying to get some stickers and pins and things made and spread the word.
And you had a Labor Day event too, didn't you?
We did. We had a Labor Day event at the park. About 100 people came out. There was some poetry, some comedians doing some stuff,
and hot dogs,
and a lot of hot dogs. Too many hot dogs, and yeah, it was a really good time. We had music and a lot of speakers. We had a congressional candidate, Robbie Wilson came. Yeah, it was great. It was a really good time, and it was a long event, and people stayed from start to finish, and you could just see enthusiasm everywhere. And
actually, even on Facebook, there's a lot of people who come to the Bernie Sanders Facebook page.
Yeah, there are. You know, like I said, so when we first started the page, well, Abel first started the page, and I just asked, is anyone hosting this event? And there were not very many likes on the Facebook page at the time. It had just started, and it hadn't gotten a lot of wind. And since then, since he started the page, it went from those low numbers to like over 700. You know, there's lots of people involved, and then there's the Arkansas for Bernie Sanders page as well. That's getting a lot of heavy traffic. We were talking at our last meeting just with some other New Progressives, Northwest Arkansas New Progressives, and I was saying like, oh, I follow like 9 different Bernie Sanders pages right now, and they're like, oh, it's nothing, I've got 12. And it's just so nice, instead of seeing all these posts about how people from my hometown support Kim Davis or are like really happy about defunding Planned Parenthood. Now I'm just seeing progressive things. Now I just get to see Bernie Sanders all the time. So it's good.
So let's play American Idol for a second.
Okay.
And who do you think might be a good vice presidential pick for Bernie Sanders?
That's a good question. I would think Elizabeth Warren, but then I'd think no. She's in a really good place where she's at. She has a lot of power where she's at. And I don't really have a whole lot of ideas of who could be a good VP. I'm sure he's got a lot of ideas.
Yeah, sometimes vice president is a good place to neuter a politician who's getting too popular. They put him as vice president, and you never hear from them again.
Yeah, that's true.
And but it'd be interesting to see if he got the nomination, who his vice president would be.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know. You know, I'm having to learn about all kinds of new candidates, like potential candidates, and just looking around at all the states and seeing like who is progressive out there. Like someone from California, maybe. Like there's a couple people out there.
It'd be nice to see if the Bernie Sanders effect had an effect on a state and local level, where more people would start talking about these issues when they're running for a state and local office.
This what's interesting about Robbie Wilson. He came out, and that's his whole platform. You know, the seat that he's running for, I think, is a pretty tough spot. But he's got this progressive-minded. You know, he's giving us these speeches and talking about his views, and like, well, he is affecting people on a local level, and that's clear. It's already happening. Like even if they're just throwing his name out to us because we're there.
That's pretty cool, though.
It's looking good. Yeah. It's looking good.
Well, Victoria, I want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week.
Hello, I'm Lauren Adams. I'm with the American Postal Workers Union, AFL-CIO. I'm the state vice president, District 6, and we're watching Fayetteville Access TV.
Our country needs your help. Many young people today feel as if they don't matter and that their future prospects are limited. As a nation, we need to invest in our young people, let them know that they are full of potential. Now let's help them succeed, and mentoring can do that. Mentors can help young people build confidence and give them hope for the future. So you can help your country by volunteering as a mentor to a young person in your community. And you'll be surprised how good it will make you feel. Mentoring works. Become a mentor.
The war had been going on for 2 years, and I got the calling. I got the calling to join the service and support the boys over there. I never thought that I would have PTSD. I thought that I had enough coping skills.
I don't think anybody who goes into combat could ever honestly say that they're not different when they come home.
My life's changed. What you take as a simple thing is not so simple for me anymore.
It's like a pressure cooker. And, you know, you want somebody desperately to trip that valve. You know, you want to, like, you know, lose all of that anger and angst.
I would say to those people that are out there, get educated. Don't brush this aside and don't count us out.
Hear more of their stories at usoinvisiblewounds.org. The wounds are invisible. The stories are real.
Hi, I want to tell you about the time that my wife Tracy and I decided to put a vegetable garden in. We put about half our yard in as a vegetable garden in a couple years ago, and it was doing pretty well. We had all kinds of things I guess they call them vegetables. I don't know, because none of them ever reached fruition. Because our neighbor next door had this big thing, you spell it G-N-U, I guess it's pronounced new, but he called it a GNU. And this silly thing kept coming over and chewing on our vegetables, our cabbages, our cauliflowers, our peas on a regular basis, and they never grew. I mean, they never just. It was like vegetable abortions, because we were never able to find out what they tasted like on our plates, because this stupid animal from next door kept coming over and helping himself. So I kept going over, I kept knocking on the man's door. I said, "Listen, Mr. Green Jeans," I said, "you got to do something about this stupid animal of yours." I said, it's coming over and it's eating all of our vegetables." I said, "We can't have this." I said, "My wife and I are going to go hungry." I said, we're getting on in years." I said, "We're supposed to grow our own food." I said, "We read Utney magazine." I said, "We're supposed to just be one with nature." He said, I'm really sorry about this." He said, I'm trying to get back to nature myself. I'm raising all these GNUs." That's how he pronounced it, GNU. He said, and Harvey, my eldest GNU, keeps getting out. He said, "Tell you what, if Harvey gets out again, just look him in the eyes and say, 'Harvey, go back home,' and he'll do it." I said, "All right." So Harvey the GNU came back to our garden. I looked him in the eyes and grabbed him by the collar. I said, "Harvey, get out of here." And Harvey went home. But he was back the next day, just chomping down on my favorite cauliflower, the one that was like, it was like as big as a man's head. I was ready to make soup out of that one. And I said to him, I said, "Man," I said, "Mr. Green Jeans, I'm tired of this creature coming over chawing on our vegetables." He said, "All right." He said, "Listen, if it comes over again," he said, "just throw some pebbles at it." I said, "All right." So the next morning I saw this GNU chomping on vegetables, so I picked up some small pebbles, because I don't want to throw rocks at this thing, because it's one of God's creatures after all. So I picked up some small pebbles and tossed the pebbles at the GNU, and it scattered like a wild stallion, ran next door. Did that the next day, but it looked at me like I was the biggest idiot on God's green earth. So I marched over and I started kicking on the man's door. I said, "Listen, I'm tired of this." I said, "You're going to do something about this GNU or it's going to the glue factory." He said, "All right." And he gave me this. He said, "Listen," he said, "if Harvey comes over there again," he said, "you need to give him a couple good whacks. Just paddle him on the butt." I said, "All right, by God." I said, "I'm ready for this, because I'm tired of this creature eating our produce." So the next day I was ready, and I walked outside, and there was this big animal just chomping down our vegetables. And I walked over to him, and I raised my big old stick, and I looked at those big, gentle,
stupid brown eyes. Man, I couldn't do it. And I walked over to Mr. Green Jean's house, and I gave him back a stick, and I said, listen, I said, paddle your own canoe.
Sloan Davis.
I killed my television. It was either me or it. I did it swiftly, and I buried it in the backyard, where the authorities of conformity and the thought police will never find out and prosecute me for murdering a defenseless and harmless thing. But it wasn't harmless. It was the embodiment of pure evil, striking down my creativity and lust for life. It was hypnotizing me into submission with its 30-minute quick fix answer on some sitcom reality where canned laughter rolls off of hatred, rising from an idiot one-liner. Where $20,000 luxury car ads defecate, or gotta have buy now deals on the porch of my mind. Where tons of flapping tongues interview every redneck hillbilly below the Mason-Dixon line about their incestuous, drug-taking, beer-drinking, bar-brawling, dog-kicking, wife-cheating, husband-beating, I don't know how to get it on live. Where Big Brother shows his face in the form of a third-rate actor in a movie called You Narc Them, We Bust Them, form of desensitized entertainment. Where fresh air, rolling beaches, cloud-piercing mountains, hair-thick forests come to me through a 19-inch lifeline. So yes, I did it. And I'm glad I did it, and I'll do it again. Because I'm finally free. Free, I say. I'm going to move up to Montana and rent the Unabomber's cabin. I'm going to wash my hands free of modern society. Except, well, I'm gonna need to bring my computer. You see, listen, using a typewriter is barbaric, let alone freehand. That's slipping into the dark ages. And I'll need my phone because, well, for internet access, I gotta have email. And I'm gonna actually need to keep my microwave because the only thing I've ever learned to cook on a stove is to boil some water. And I'm definitely keeping my $9,000 receiver, tape deck, CD player, and speakers, because I gotta have my tunes, man. But I'm free! Do you hear? Free, damn it! Free! Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Now this is, I guess this is a vegetarian hymn?
Well, it is of sorts. I mean, and this is where some aspect of the spirituality comes in, and also just it's a self-exploration process. Okay, based, as most all of my poems are, on a real life experience. Betty's Scream. Last night we had Betty for dinner. She used to live down the road from me and Jeb. I never knew the old gal, only met her once or twice. She had one of these souls, the kind that leaves you feeling like you've been touched, nectar sweet and clear like spring water. Jeb knew Betty real well, met her when she first came to old man Jessup's farm. She was just a sprout back then. Over the years, Jeb had a hand in tending her when she got snake bit or stuck in barbed wire, the late night births. Betty was a good-natured beast. She served old man Jessup well, right up until the day he took one long, cold look at her and decided she wasn't worth her weight in feed anymore. Too old for birthing healthy stock. Jeb helped load her into the livestock trailer. Betty knew where she was headed. She could smell their guilt. Too old for birthing, so now her ground-up rump sizzles in the skillet while I slice onions, tomatoes, rinse the lettuce. Slabs of cheddar melt into her flesh, and I pronounce her done. Jeb adds piles of condiments and then surveys his mass of deconstructed Betty. "Looky here," he says, "I've built a bigger, better burger with that old heifer." I stared at my plate for a moment. I thought about Betty, felt a passing cloud of moral nausea, and then, well, it's certainly too late now. Besides, I'm hungry. I sank my teeth into Betty. A scream pierced the heavens, and she was heard asking God, "Have mercy on their souls."
I like that. Do you still eat meat?
Yes, I do. But see, this is an exploration process.
Yes.
This is a discovery process, and it's been more difficult to continue eating meat. I've gone in and out of vegetarianism. I'm out. I mean, since I've been in Arkansas, I've been way out. But
we still have pockets of vegetarians here in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
They're in conclaves. They're well armed. But, they're still.
Newsflash! 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 Newsflash!
Is this a joke? With the news that old TV favorites The Fugitive and The Beverly Hillbillies are coming to the big screen, word has been announced that Gilligan's Island will be the next show to receive the big star treatment. Cast so far are Kevin Costner as the professor, John Candy as the skipper, Sean Connery as Mr. Howell, Madonna as Ginger, and Rob Lowe as Gilligan, a simple-minded but sexually precocious cabin boy. The film is expected to carry the dreaded NC-17 rating.
Can't stop thinking about you, first impression so intense. Just taste your freedom, take a risk. I'll be your seventh sense. Yes, I will now. Will I tell my friends about you? And they say that I'm obsessed. But to share your wiles with me, this heart of mine won't rest. No, no, no. Whatever happened to love? Exploring the mysteries of you. Yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, baby, your temptations, oh, don't force me to choose. When I contemplate this fine rain, not one can I refuse. Well, you're making me crazy with the things you do, with the things you do. I gotta catch my breath. I'm so now transfixed by the way you move, the way you move, the way you move, the way you move. Whatever happened to love? Exploring the mysteries of you. Yeah, yeah. Oh, oh. Hey, hey. Oh, oh. Well, I won't take moderation. I know that just won't do. Oh, lose your inhibition. Let your body speak the truth. I said speak the truth. Speak the truth. Now speak the truth. Whatever happened to love? Exploring the mysteries of you. Yeah, yeah. Exploring the mysteries of you. Exploring the mysteries of you. How about you now? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exploring the mysteries of you. Exploring the mysteries of mysteries of you. Yeah, I know we're gonna take our sweet time. Oh, baby, let's just see what we can find.
segregate, mediate, alleviate, try not to hate, love your mate, don't suffocate on your own hate, designate your lover's fate, one world state as human freight, the number 8, a white black state, a gentle train, the broken crane, a heavyweight, just too late, now death is state, appreciate, depreciate, fabricate, emulate, truth dilate, a special day, the animals made, guilt debate, the insurrate, a better rate, a youth irate to liberate, fascinate, deviate, and reinstate, liberate, to liberate, liberate.
This next song is another story song. It was written by Sally Finger. And since AIDS became prevalent in this country, we've had many opportunities to either learn and grow and become more caring and loving people, or to hide deeper in fear and hatred. And I've seen people go both ways. I think people who have families do a huge disservice to their children when they insist on remaining ignorant, when they insist on breeding hatred, because their kids grow up with that, and sometimes that hatred ends up being internalized, and I think that's one of the most awful things you can have to deal with as an adult. This song is a really lovely song, a lovely story about a mom and her daughter trying to understand some of the issues around AIDS.
My This next song, an acquaintance of mine, a woman that I always found to be, always spoke her mind, and just this really incredibly strong woman. And I was just blown away about 5 or 6 months ago when she was admitted to the hospital because her husband had been abusing her, and it wasn't the first time, and I had no idea. I was totally surprised. And so I wrote a song for her, and it's called Woman, Where's Your Voice? Woman, where's your voice? Don't you know you have a choice to stay there in the pain or up and move away? It's simply up to you. To thine own self be true. Oh, woman, where's your voice? Taking care of this, always taking care of that, never taking care of where you're at. Taking care of everyone but the wounded girl inside. Don't you want to run away and hide? Woman, don't you hush, don't keep silent, learn to trust that little voice inside you that constantly reminds you to always speak your mind and say no sometimes. Oh, woman, don't you hush. Keeping care of this, always taking care of that, never taking care of where you're at. Taking care of everyone but the wounded girl inside. Don't you want to run away and hide? Woman, don't you hush, don't keep silent, learn to trust that little voice inside you that constantly reminds you to always speak your mind and say no sometimes. Oh, woman, don't you hush. Taking care of this, always taking care of that, never taking care of where you're at. Taking care of everyone but the wounded girl inside. Don't you want to run away and hide? Woman, where's your voice? Don't you know you have a choice to stay there in the pain or up and move away? Oh, it's simply up to you. To thine own self be true. Oh, woman, where's your voice? 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 Oh, woman, where's your voice? Thank you.
Our economy is in trouble. Our education system is failing. Our cities have become war zones. And our planet is in distress. But instead of reaching out for solutions, we reach for another potato chip and zap another channel. Snap out of it, America. A message from the Media Foundation.
Politics in general and jobs that don't pay enough, 40-hour work weeks, books full of boring stuff, schools that should teach but kids don't learn a thing. These are a few of my least favorite things. Healthcare that won't heal and how people treat the earth, paying tolls and taxes, disbelief in self-worth, bitter cold winters that cut into spring. These are a few of my least favorite things. Religions that claim they're true, don't get me started. Standards that double and people cold-hearted. Judgment and bias when freedom don't ring. These are a few of my least favorite things. All the lying, all the killing. When I'm depressed and sad, I add that to all of my least favorite things, and then I feel really like Julie Andrews or something.